Good afternoon to all of you. Right, last class we discussed related to DES algorithm. We completed. So my screen is visible. Right, thank you. In the last class we discussed a little this DES decryption also. Now we are going to be talking about the speed of DES algorithm, right? So here, first of all, we need to check the speed of the DES algorithm. One of the design goal of DES was that it would have fast implementation relative to the technology of its time. So how fast you can compute this DES is going to be specifically at least 1.6 gigabits per second, maybe more. And suppose you have a gate, suppose you may use the VLSI gates. The depth of the gates are going to be like this. You need to be compute 8 by 16 by 50. That is going to be equal to 40 gates, and the depth of the gates are going to be 48. Right. So the fast because of the software implementation. Earlier, okay, they talked about the hardware implementation. Now, okay, people are talking about the hardware software implementation. It is much more faster than the hardware implementation, right? And the strengths of DES is going to be, these are the three. One is use of 56-bit key in 1977. The second one is going to be the nature of DES algorithm. Why? Because we are using both the confusion and diffusion concepts, and the way they constructed S boxes. The way they constructed S boxes. And whatever S boxes we discussed in the last class, that S box consisting of fixed values. S box consists fixed values only. Fixed values means that the values are not going to be changed for either encryption or decryption. The same values we are using for both encryption and decryption. That you keep it. And timing attacks are possible. Timing, it resists from the timing attacks actually. Timing attacks means okay, different inputs you may choose. Then how okay the behavior of the protocol you have to be analyzed based on that. Okay. Right? So actually we need to be say timing attack which exploits the encryption and decryption algorithm, and slight different of amounts we may supply, and based on the time how the attack is, we are going to analyze in this particular timing attacks. So mainly the use of the 56-bit key and the nature of the DES algorithm, how they deployed, and a third one is the timing attacks. It resists from the timing attacks. Generally, timing attacks is not going to be work for okay, symmetric algorithms, but here we need to be discussed related to the DES algorithm. It resists from the timing attacks. Generally, the timing attacks are going to be discussed for public key cryptography only. That we are not studied, okay, we will study in the future. And I want to say here one statement, you read this one, DES finally, that means decoded by this Electronic Frontier Foundation, EFF, and they crack this particular DES algorithm, and whatever the machine they build, that worth is going to be $250, $250,000. Keep this in your mind. So how much cost they spend to crack this DES algorithm. So there are two methodologies are very popular to create attack on this particular DES algorithm. One is a differential cryptanalysis, other one is going to be linear cryptanalysis. So what is the differential cryptanalysis? You may observe this is the first published attack, and the DES is going to be that means that the number of encryptions are required for you is going to 2 to the power 55 only. So total number of encryptions we require. The key length is going to be 2 to the power 56, and the block size is going to be 2 to, that means 64 bits. That means how many possibilities are there? 2 to the power 64 possibilities are there, out of which you require only 2 to the power 55. Right? Then they have 2 to the power 47. They further reduced theoretically. Very interesting concept. The simple concept they used in this differential cryptanalysis we'll discuss. And linear cryptanalysis. This is much more powerful attack than the differential cryptanalysis. This is a further reduced to 2 to the power 43 plain text and compared to 2 to the power 47. You observe 2 to the power, compare these two numbers, 2 to the power 47, 2 to the power 43. How much that very less number, this is 2 to the power 43. Because you go for whenever you go for the higher, so 2 to the power 4, how much? 16 to 32, almost half. Then you go for 2 to the power 5 and 2 to the power 10 and 2 to the power 11. How much gap is there? That's the same way you may observe 2 to the power 43 and 2 to the power 47. How much further they reduced? How they reduced? So this particular slide is visible to all of you clearly or not? I want to know. The numbers are visible to you or not? Some of you may answer for me. Okay, right. Okay, just I want to increase. Now, okay, these numbers are visible. Now also not visible the numbers. Oh. Now a little bit. Now these numbers are visible. Like here now 40, 40, 08, 00, 00, 04, 00, 00, 00. Right now? Thank you. So now you observe this is a 64-bit value. This is a 64-bit value. We are going to be divide the 64-bit value into two parts. We discussed in the last class. One is the left-hand side and right-hand side. What is your left-hand side? 4008 0000 value, and right-hand side you have 04000000 value. So what you supposed to be do? You provide this as the input to this right-hand side, and left-hand side value will be provided as the input to left-hand side. Suppose with a probability of 0.25, you may provide 04000000 as the input to the function f. The function f is going to produce 40080000 value, the same like your left hand side bits. What is the output value for here? Output of XOR function is going to be all zeros. If these are all going to be zeros, output function f is going to be zeros. Now, what is your right hand side value? We have 04000000 value. So that your right hand side value is going to be 04000000, and your right hand side value after round 1 function is going to be left hand side value after round 1 function is going to be all zeros. Then the output of this particular input value 04000000 is going to be 40080000. We know that actually. We discussed about the same value we observed at round 1, round 0. Suppose you may assume it. This is the first round, this is the second round, this is the third round. Output of the third round is going to be similar to your initial round. So are you clear, or again I may explain? Again I'm explaining, please be listen very carefully how the attack is going to be placed. your left hand side bits and right hand side bit you observe. You provide right hand side bits are going to be input to your function f. If suppose your function f produced similar values to your left hand side values, then the XOR function output is going to be zeros. You may provide zeros as the input to your function f. Function f produces zeros only as output, so that here right hand side values we are considering as input to this XOR function, and output of the function f. Output of the function f values are zeros, and here our left hand side value is going to be 0, 4, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So that output of this XOR function is going to be 0, 4, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Then whenever you provide this input, the function f is going to produce the same value 0, 4, 0, 8, 0, 0, 0, 0. Then here our right hand side values are all zeros. That's why output of this function is going to be comes 4, 0, 0, 8, 0, 0, 0, 0, and your right hand side values are going to be 4, 0, 4, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. That means if this condition happened, how many rounds are there in our DES algorithm? Yesterday we discussed how many rounds are there in our DES algorithm? 16 rounds. Suppose after 3 rounds, we got a similar value. After how many rounds we will get the similar value? Third round, whenever we completed third round, and again it will be repeated, and 16th round, sorry, 6th round, and after that 9th, 12 after 15. So the final one is going to be the 15th round, also same value will come. That means you need not to perform all the operations for 16 rounds. Directly you jump to 15th round. That's why they chosen 16th round. Why can't they use 1 round? Why can't they use 3 rounds? Why can't they use 5 rounds? They used by 16 rounds. So because of this particular issue only, they used 16th round. Even though, so the linear cryptanalysis directly jump to the 16th round. Suppose with this probability, 15th round to 16th round. 16th round value is similar to your second round. That is very easy to guess. What ciphertext you will get. Are you clear? So what I mean to say, that means with help of this one, you need not to perform the intermediary computations. Directly you jump to the 15th, and you may perform the 16th one. For a particular values only, not to all the values, for a particular values only. So this is the one of the major attack placed on DES, so that they succeeded in that. Keep it in the, so linear cryptanalysis, why so efficient? They use this similar process in the linear cryptanalysis. Clear? So now I want to talk about the key recovery attack on block cipher. Simple. This is very, very simple attack. Just you observe, you have encryption. Encryption, whenever you are performing, what are the requirement for you? You require a key. That's why here you might be observe. What are there here? Okay, just you need to be observed here. This one you may observe. What are they? 0, 1 to the power k means the key length. The key is going to be represented like this, as well as plain text we are going to represent like this, and n is going to be equal to 64 here. K is going to be equal to 56 here, but our ciphertext value is going to be 0, 1 to the power n. N value is here 64 only. So in that case, you may observe a key bit key T called as target key is chosen at random, and let q is greater than or equal to 0 be some integer parameter. How adversary has a sequence of q input output examples for of a target key T like this. He is going to be compute M1, use T, he has a M1 and he is going to be compute C1 with help of T, and the same way he is going to be that is compute C2 value for M2, and so on. For MQ he is going to be compute CQ value. Now he is going to be receive any ciphertext, he is going to compare with all these ciphertext values. That's why here where Ci is going to be equal to Et of Mi. So this is the way attacker is going to be gain the knowledge of the key. He's going to maintain a huge database. He's going to maintain a variable key information. He's going to maintain variable message information. And he's going to be generate a ciphertext corresponding to that. Just he is supposed to be use one small XOR function, and is able to get back that information. Just if suppose am I right here, I generated a CI, my CI XOR with C1, both the resultant value is all the resultant value is equal to 0, means what? Both C1 and CI are same. Both C1 and CI are same. If both C1 and CI are same, that means the corresponding message is going to be M1. If that is the corresponding message M1, then M1 C1 corresponding key is T. So I will find target key T like this. Simple example. I would like to provide a simple example to you. Suppose here this is Alice. Alice created a C and forwarded to B. Suppose you assume it, this one. In between Eve is there. You calculated all these values, M1, C1, M2, C2, and so on, MQ, CQ. What Eve will do, this Eve, whatever C is received, he will compare the C with whatever CI values C has. He is going to be supply one side CI value and received C value, here received C, and other side he is going to be apply CI value. So whenever he is going to be apply this particular operation, whenever the resultant value is equal to 0, that it means the corresponding CI value is going to be retrieved. He is going to retrieve this corresponding CI value. So he is able to find that MI, corresponding MI value, and whichever the key they are supposed to be used to generate this MI comma CI. So that is going to be the target key. That is going to be the target key. That means this is the target key they use to generate MI and CI. So this CI matches with this particular C. That it means this CI is this CI is corresponding to this MI, but this MI and CI both are corresponding to this T. So likewise, he is going to be retrieve this particular M value and this particular T value. Keep it in mind. So there are two types of attacks we discussed in the earlier classes: known message attack or a chosen message attack. That I told you. This is sometimes I am going to be write CPA, chosen plain text attack, and this is a CPA, chosen plain text attack, and this is going to be known plain text attack. Known plain text attack. Known plain text attack. Okay, this is we call it as a CPA, chosen message attack. So here all messages are chosen. Here all messages are known to the adversary. Here adversary will choose messages. Once he chooses messages, he is going to be compute CI like this and find out the target key. So these are the two exercise problems. I will post on your assignment, and you just go through that. This is what about DES algorithm. We discussed DES algorithm, and the possible attacks on DES algorithms are going to be chosen. That means the differential cryptanalysis and linear cryptanalysis. So how linear cryptanalysis works, we studied. And now I don't want to jump to AES algorithm. In between one topic we should discuss. The topic is going to be mode of operations. The topic is going to be mode of operations, right? So I think my slides are visible to you. Yes, my new slide set is visible to you. Thank you. This is called mode of operations. And here, why mode of operations are required? The clear replacement for DES was needed. Theoretical attacks can be break it. Demonstrated exhaustive key search attacks that we discussed. Exhaustive key search attack means our known plain text and chosen no chosen plain text attack. We discussed these two. Based on that, we are able to find the key. That comes under exhaustive key search attack. Exhaustive key search attack means okay, just you observe all the possible keys we are going to be used, all possible okay messages we are going to be used to find a key. But it takes a longer time. So AES is a new cipher alternative. Prior to this alternative was to use multiple encryption with DES implementation. One is a triple DES, is the chosen cipher form, chosen form. Why we are not going to be use the double DES? Simply you understand, I'm performing encryption. Again, I may perform encryption on the simple logic. You observe here. So one is a key K1, other one is a key K2. What is the key length for here? 112 bits are the key length. Clear? In the double DES. Why we are not going to use double DES? You are performing encryption over here. Again, you are performing encryption. Means what? How many possibilities are there? How many possibilities are there? You have a 2 to the power 64 possibilities. Means again, the next block is also going to be belongs to that 2 to the power 64 block only. That is the major drawback in the double DES algorithm. Even though you are using a key K1 and K2, different keys you are using, but the purpose is not going to be solved. Are you understand, I think, okay, what I'm saying? Suppose I have a 64-bit block. I may perform encryption. The resultant of a C value is belongs to any one of 2 to the power 64, okay, the possible outputs are there. And again, I may perform encryption with a key K2. That is also belongs to the same, okay, same okay, 2 to the power 64 only. So that might be a very easy to guess the values. Again, why can't we use the K1 for both the encryptions? Anybody answer for me? In double DES, we are using K1, K2. Instead of K1, K2, we may use K1. What happens? Yes, we just reverse the process. If you are going to reverse the process, you will get back your plain text back. That's why they are not using the same key. So that is ruled out. Same key is ruled out. So we are supposed to be the 2 keys. Even though you are using the 2 keys, the resultant C belongs to the same. Same. That means okay, the same possibilities only. That will be resultant value is also going to be belongs to the same group of values. That's why they used a triple DES. In triple DES also, they are not using like encryption. Instead of that, what they are using? First, they are performing encryption with the key K1, and they are decrypting the key K2, and finally they are encrypting that one, which creates like a lot of okay. That means okay, confusion towards to the attacker. So likewise, you have a DESX also. X times okay, you may call this as a DESX. Likewise, okay, the many variants are into the market. And generally, what I heard in ATM transactions, okay, ATM we are going and we are withdrawing our money now. There generally they will use triple DES. Triple DES is much more powerful than the AES algorithm. Why? Because DS has its own okay advantages. Triple DES also inherited that okay advantages. And key length 112 bits are okay very high as per okay, right now we have computations. So, but here one more problem we have. That problem, what is it? If suppose I have okay message M, always I may generate message M which message length is always is equal to 64 bits or not? Definitely not. 64 bits. So always this is not equal to. That's why what you're supposed to be do. So whatever message you have, that message you are going to be divided into small blocks, M1, M2, and so on, Mn. Are you clear about what I'm saying? I have a variable length message. From that, I want to construct 64-bit blocks. So why? Because I'm using DES algorithm here. Example I'm telling, you may use the AES algorithm, you may use any of the any of block cipher, no issue for that. But every block length should be equal. That means what I want to say here, M1 length is equal to my M2 length. My M2 length is equal to, and so on, my Mn. And that is going to be resultant is equal to based on your block cipher length. That might be 64, that might be 128, and so on. That depends. So now, if you have a long, that is like a huge message, that is our M, directly we are unable to encrypt the whole message. Directly we are unable to encrypt the whole message. What you require to do, you have to be first, that means divided into message blocks. Each and every message block you provide as the input. Then combine all that, you treat it as your C ciphertext. That means this M is my plain text. This M is my plain text. The corresponding C, how I will compute, the corresponding C I'm going to be compute like this. I'm going to be use, okay, I received as output C1, C2, and so on, Cn. So combine all these, that is going to be your ciphertext. Combine all this is going to be treated as your ciphertext. Right. So here, if suppose how I am going to be encrypt all these messages comes into the picture. That's why we require a mode of operations. That's why we require mode of operation. Mode of operation is essentially a way of encrypting arbitrary length messages using a block cipher. That's why we require, okay, this mode of operation. So why this mode of operation is required? Direct use of a block cipher is inadvisable. People are going to be cracked this. Cryptanalyzer can build up a code book of plain text ciphertext equivalents. After that, they're going to be, okay, find, okay, cipher block size in length. Then they will, okay, find out your key. So that's why here we are going to be studying 5 standard mode of operations plus with the few advanced, okay, mode of operations also we'll study after AES algorithm. So what are the 5 we are going to be studying in our class? One is electronic code book, other one is cipher block chaining, cipher feedback mode, output feedback mode, and counter mode of operations. Please keep in your mind, how many we are studying? 5. What are the electronic code book, cipher block chaining, cipher feedback, output feedback, and counter mode. These are very easy. But as a cryptanalyzer, you are going to be analyzed, you will get more flavor here. We'll see that, what kind of flavor we will get. This is a simple electronic code book. I told you, I have message M1, I have a message M. I divided this message into M1, M2, M3, and so on, Mn minus 1 and Mn. So these are all my message blocks, M1 to Mn. So my Mn is going to provide as the input to encryption E, and key is also going to be supplied over there. Then I'm able to generate C1. Likewise, okay, I'm going to generate C1, C2, C3, and so on, Cn. So this is my ciphertext. Here I'm going to place a question in front of you. So think like a, that means a different, and tell me the answer. Any drawback is there in this particular mode of operation? I have a plain text. I divide plain text into message blocks, each block consisting some required bits. Likewise, it generated. So if suppose I may use this particular mode of operation, any problems are there in this? According to regarding to cryptography only. Are you able to find any drawback in the in this particular method? You guess and tell me the answer. That's enough for me. You observe, na? You have M1, M2, M3, Mn minus 1, Mn. Just you are encrypting that, and you are generating C1, C2, C3, and so on, Cn minus 1. In this particular procedure, any attacks are possible. And what kind of attacks are possible? Yes, message should be a multiple of block size. No. It's all blocks are equal to 64, 128 like that only. All blocks are same length. And you have a message, that message you divided into multiple blocks. And each block size is equal to same. So what is the drawback in this particular mode of operation? Diffusion is less, same key is used again and again. Same key is we are going to be used again and again. That's why K I'm not changing. The same key I'm using again and again and again and again. What problem you are able to find? No, block size is not reduced. Block size is same. Security, how it is going to be reduced? How the security is going to be reduced? No, not at all. You cannot say that. Okay, first of all, okay, that is not possible. Okay, we decrypt one. That means if one you decrypt, okay, no algorithm is going to be sufficient. Every algorithm is compromised. All mode of operation are going to be compromised. That is correct. If some changes in M1, that changes will be reflected in C1. That is okay, acceptable, but that is not a big issue for us. Same plain text in the block creates same ciphertext that leads to more information. That might not be possible actually. Same message might not be generate the same value for ciphertext. Any other problem you're able to find out? I would like to give a small hint to you. Based on that, you just give me some solutions. What happens? That is, so my message block M1 and my message block M3 both are same. Then are you getting my point? My M1 and M3 both are same. Then the corresponding ciphertext also same. Then that would be a more that is going to provide more information to the attacker to know about the key. Key. That we will discuss. In further discussion, we'll discuss how this is going to leak that information. That's why generally people are not going to be used this ECB concept. But where this ECB concept they are going to be used generally in image. Suppose you want to encrypt images, then we supposed to be use this ECB concept. Okay, are you clear now? Why? Because there is a pixel information is there, you are not going to disturb the pixel information. That's why you're supposed to use the ECB concept only. The decryption is very easy. The reverse process, C1, C2, C3 are the inputs. Finally, we'll get M1, M2, M3, and these are the. So what are the problems in ECB? So only we were going to be used for the images, right? Decrypting a large message, two same message blocks encrypt to the same cipher blocks. So two cipher blocks can be switched. One cipher block can be copied into another, and no built-in integrity or authentication check. We have many keys, one for each block. Recurring phases causes repeated part blocks of ciphertext, and plain text pattern becomes obvious under codebook attack if attacker can do sender, right? So that's why they proposed cipher block chaining concept. Cipher block chaining concept. How they use this one? Just they used one initial vector here, and your plain text block M1 both are going to be XOR and provide as input to encryption mechanism. The same key we are using for all the encryptions, so that key will get a C1, and C1 you provide as input to this XOR function, second block XOR function, and M2 is going to be another input to this second XOR function, and these two XOR, the resultant is going to provide as input to E, so that you will get C2, and so on. You will continue this one process. So how I can write this one in an equation form? I want to write this equation form. What's supposed to be right? I'm going to write here. First, what is required for me to define? I want to define C1. The C1 is equal to encryption with key K. What I supposed to be used here? M1 XOR IV. Clear? First, I want to define C1. Then only I am able to define remaining all. So now I am able to define Ci. What is my Ci value is equal to? Ci value is equal to? What's supposed to be right here? Encryption of KK. So here XOR function we are using. For that, what are the inputs are there? C I minus 1 as a one input, XOR with Mi. So and so on, you will find your Cn value. And so on, you will find your Cn value. This is XOR with K. This is K, and Ci minus 1 XOR with Mi. The finally, how I will write Cn? Cn is equal to encryption of K. I'm using the same key for all the encryptions. Key K of Cn minus 1 XOR with Mn. How you are going to perform decryption? Simple in the reverse process. Reverse process means how? Just you have a C1, C2, C3, Cn minus 1 and so on. Then you provide that as an input to your D. Whatever the output comes over here, that provide as an input to your XOR function. And here XOR function has two inputs. One is IV, other one is going to be M1. So now I want to get back my M1. How I supposed to be write an equation? This is my M1. M1 is equal to how I will get back? IV XOR with decryption of C1. If suppose I want to write Mi, then if suppose I want to write Mi, the Mi is equal to, how I supposed to be write? Here Ci minus 1 XOR decryption of key K. Here key K, I forgot key K. Decryption of key K of Ci. This is the equation generally we will use to decrypt the whole message. That means a whole information. How many of you understand? Please let me know. If you understand, say yes. Otherwise, okay. So how many of you are active? I will get to know from that. Correct. Now you find what is the problem. What are the problems? You find the problems in this particular algo. In this cipher block chaining, what are the problems are there? What problems are there? In the last slide we discussed about some problems. The same way you need to be guess what problems are going to be create major issues to us in this. Can you write problems in this CBC algorithm? Anyone please find out any problem in this CBC algorithm? Time consuming. So I told you the starting slides only I discussed with you. What I discussed with you? Limitations are there. Security is first. The rest of the things are next. Timing and all these things are the next. First, our aim is going to be security only. You think you have to be thinking with respect to security only. Where the security break points are there. How we can broke the security in this particular method. No. You are coming. Your guess, Vijay. Your guessing is a little come to a very good point actually, but you think differently. You relate the message with the initial vector is a wonderful point, but how you need to be write that point? You said if two messages are same, then the attacker might guess the value of initial vector. Instead of that, you may think in a different way. The pattern analysis always is there. Pattern analysis always is going to be create attack on the security aspects. So Vijay written a good point, but you need to be modify that point. You will get the one problem. Please provide your answers quickly so that we'll go ahead. I told you Vijay is pointed a correct point, but that is not the correct point. He has to be used the other way. You will get the answer. You will get one problem. That is the major problem in that. So can I give a small hint to you? So here we have message, you have IV, you have M1. So now you tell me, what problem might be there? Yes, Rishabh, you are right. If IV and M1 both are same, XOR is going to be given 0. If XOR is going to be 0, what is the output of your encryption function? 0 only. If 0 you are providing as input to some other, that creates a problem to you. So that means the insecurity of CBC algorithm depends on the IV only. So IV should be random. IV should not be equal to the message 1. So this first point we need to be take care. Second question I am asking. Here. So my message 1 consisting 2-bit error. How many cipher blocks are going to be involved in this particular? Not this one. So wait. I will give you here. My ciphertext 2 has 3-bit errors. How many message blocks are going to be that means involved in this? How many the error propagation is up to how many blocks? This is the correct point. C3 has a 3 bits error. How many blocks the error is going to be propagated? Only 2 blocks. What are they? Your message and message 2. The same question I'm asking again. Here, now I will come to. Suppose my message M2 has 2-bit error. Then the error is propagated to how many blocks? This is the tricky point actually. This is the tricky point. You be careful about while you are answering. You have to be think about your decryption. Decryption time, how many blocks are impacted? That block and the next block only. The same thing happened to here also, na? Why are you not thinking like that? This error is going to propagate to all the other blocks. So you are right. So if message, some error is propagated, the error is going to be propagated till the end. But while you are transmitting any, that means, okay, what we are going to be transmitting, generation time, we are not going to get any errors generally. But while transmitting from one end to other end, that means, okay, whatever generated as ciphertext, you are transmitting from one end to other end, the errors are possible at the ciphertext only. If any error occurred in the ciphertext, the error is going to be propagated to the present block and the next block only. That is not going to be propagated to another way. Suppose at the plain text level you have an error, that error is going to propagate to all other blocks. So these two are the major problems in CBC. So remaining problems we'll discuss in the next class. I'm going to be provide a small quiz to you. Please answer the quiz. I'm sharing the quiz. Please answer the quiz within few minutes. After that I will stop the quiz. Okay? Right. Thank you. Any questions are there right now? One second. If any questions are there, I will answer for your questions. Otherwise, okay, I will conduct your quiz. I will share the slides. Don't worry. You have March 15th. You have midterm examination. Before that, I will share the slides. Any other questions? If you don't have any questions, please give an. So one thing, Nitish, my slides will not give much information to you. That you remember. Okay, I am going to be discuss some concepts only. My questions are different. I will give first assignment this week so that you will come to know that actually. Right? If you don't have any questions, please say no. That's all. I will discuss, before your midterm examination, what topics I covered, everything I will discuss with you well before your examination. And you note it down also. My questions are not going to be comes beyond my topics, which I covered in the class. That is more than sufficient actually for your exam. So now if you don't have a questions, TK, I will close it and I will conduct your examination within a few minutes. Okay, it's at 12:50. Within 2 minutes, I will forward your quiz to you. Okay. Thank you. I'm closing the session and I will conduct your examination. Please be ready for the examination. I will stop the examination within 5 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes only. I will close the exam.